in lieu of my mistake.
Well, I'm happy to do what I can. Uh, I wanted to give you a call and talk to you about the census a little
Yes,
bit.
sir.
I don't know if you saw, our Bedlam battle we've got going on right now with the mayor down in Norman, trying to get our census response rates to beat theirs this month. So that will be very helpful for us, and it will keep me from having to wear an OU hat at a council meeting.
That'd be great. We don't want you to have to put anything ugly on your head, so
Yeah,
that would be
that'd be rough.
great.
But we
Yeah,
are,
let me.
we're
I was
trying to
going to
get
say,
those.
let me. Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Go, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say we're trying to get those census rates up. I mean, given the issue with the pandemic right now, one of the big concerns is around students and student responses, because students that live here in Stillwater to go to OSU are residents of Stillwater for census purposes, and they do need to count here. But now that a lot of them have kind of spread out back home and off campus and that sort of thing, we're a little concerned. The Census Bureau has said they should still count themselves here in Stillwater, even if they're not here right now for school. So we're trying to get the word out about that specifically to make sure students and anybody else who is usually lives here in Stillwater but isn't here right now, to make sure they still fill out the census and use their Stillwater address so we get them counted.
Let me ask you. You mentioned with the pandemic,
Yep.
I guess there's a pro and a con, or to this with regards to the census. People tend to have more time, and usually I can imagine filling out the census is one of those deals. Well, I don't have time to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll do it later. That's the procrastination of it. Um, that's maybe the positive, is people do have more time, and you get their attention, and well, I have time to do this. I'll just look it up on the internet or on the computer and get it done. The negative is just what you said. A lot of the people that would count in Stillwater for the census
Hmm.
aren't in Stillwater right now. Can the university help you with that? I mean, I know they probably can't give you the email addresses of all the students, but the university is able to send out email
Hmm.
blasts. Can they do that for you and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
students, please"? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and they have been stepping up and helping actually before spring break, before this whole thing kind of blew up on us. President Hargis and I had recorded a message we were going to send out together to make sure students and everyone knew that they needed to respond here in Stillwater, and so the strategy here has changed a little bit, but yeah, the university's been great in helping spread the message, and I was really appreciative to see Coach Gundy and Coach Boynton send out tweets today, promoting the census bedlam thing that we've got going on as well. But yeah, so it actually helps in a couple of ways. I mean, like you said, people are home, they're paying attention a little bit more to social media probably, and there's not a whole lot else to do besides reply to the census. And honestly, it's one of the best things you can do for the long-term benefit of Stillwater right now, is to make sure our census numbers are accurate, because it really equates to about $16,000 per person over the 10 years that these census numbers will be used. So that's money we're going to need for sure to help recover just from this issue, but also to continue to grow Stillwater and provide more options for students when they're here, and for student athletes. Talk to folks in the athletic department about providing the more services we can provide, and the more we can do to improve Stillwater, the better that is for recruiting efforts, and for making this be a place that students and student athletes want to come to.
Well, and then also, you've got, not just the competition, but uh, all of the government services.
Hmm.
I mean, these are things that if you're a student and you're on a limited budget, those kind of opportunities, those kind of courtesies that come along with having that census number being up, that's pretty critical for a lot of people. And when I think of Stillwater, I don't think of a ton of fixed incomes within the everyday residents around town. There are some, no doubt about it, but almost every student is on some sort of kind of fixed income, and
Hmm.
that's where some of those services that come with that would really be important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really critical. I mean, when I've talked, I was going around talking to classes before spring break, and talking directly to some students about the issues, and really the three big reasons it's important to them. I mean, it determines our representation, at a federal and a state level, and we want to have, good, accurate representation to represent the interests of Stillwater, being a university town and, a place that really depends heavily on education. We need to be well represented, in the government that, determines a lot of funding and that sort of thing for us. So we need that representation. We also need that funding, right? I mean, there's transportation funding that comes through this. There's public safety funding. And I talk to students about the fact that, you're here in Stillwater for 4 or 5 or 6 years or however long, for 9 or 10 months out of the year, you're driving on the road. If you get sick, you're going to go to the hospital here. If you, if you have some trouble, you may have to call the police here. The fire department may need to come help you out sometime or another. And those are all services that really depend on adequate funding, and the census plays a big role in making sure we have adequate funding for those services. So, I think a lot of times students think, well, I don't really live in Stillwater, or I'm not really a resident of Stillwater. I'm just here for college. But, that the services that they may need while they're here, it doesn't matter if they're originally from Dallas or Kansas City or wherever. When they're here, they need those services, and we need to be able to provide those to them.
Yeah. Well, again, where do they need to go?
So you can register, or you can respond to the census online. It's great. This year is the first year that they have online response, and this is the first year we definitely need it for sure. But it's my2020census.gov is the website. So it'll ask you for a code. So what they did is they sent out mailers to every address with a code for the address, so you could plug that in. If you have that, plug it in when you go to the website. If you don't have the code, say you're a student that's out of town right now and hasn't gotten your mail, you can still, there's a button at the bottom that says, I don't have my census ID. And you can click that. You can still put in your address. Again, use your Stillwater address that you would normally be living at right now. And you can do that online even if you don't have the code. If you can't get online or you have issues with that, there's a number. It's 844-330-2020. That's 844-330. Sorry, 844-330-2020. That's the phone number you can call to respond to the census that way as well. So, yeah,
Well,
please do it.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate it, and glad we could get you on here to help out. And if you need to now, also, what's the deadline on this?
So they'll be taking census reports for months, for the next couple of months, right? So
Okay.
Originally the plan was, if people hadn't responded by sort of the beginning of April, the first week or so of April, they would start sending around in-person census takers, right? So they go to addresses that they haven't received a response from, and they knock on the door and they say, hey, we haven't got a census response for you. Of course, with the pandemic, they're not going to be sending those folks out quite yet. So I expect that the timeline for them to try to pick up everybody and do all of their follow-ups will be extended quite a bit this year. But that self-response rate, getting on and registering yourself online or calling in, is the easiest way to do it. And again, with students, right? I mean, if they wait for the in-person census taker to come around, I mean, that may be July, and they're not going to be here, right? So they're going to knock on those doors, and there's not going to be anybody there. So it's not going to help if we wait for that. So it's critically important for especially students and residents in Stillwater who may not, be in town right now or may not be here over the summer to respond themselves online or by phone as soon as possible. And it's critical if you do it by the end of April to help me not have to wear the OU hat with my census battle with Bria Clark down in Norman.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. In fact, I would love to see what she looks like in an Oklahoma State hat.
I've been online shopping for what hat I'm going to put her in if we win.
There you go. All right. Hey, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate you having me on and helping us spread the word. Really appreciate what you're doing.